Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. I'm so glad you're tuning in to day 3 of Staycation VBS 2020 here at Gorman. I'm excited about what God's doing. I'm praying for you and your family each day as you take part in this. If you're taking part in this next week or whenever you get a chance to watch this, that's okay. If you need a pack or anything for your family to do the family project that we've kind of been talking about, or you may already see on Facebook, please don't hesitate to call me and I'll get you a packet so you can do this with your family and post it on Facebook so everyone can see what you've done as a family through this summer as you're taking part in our Staycation VBS 2020. Today we're going to talk about a topic that can be sometimes hard as students, and even for parents it's hard sometimes. And yesterday I talked about it's easy for us just to walk away and shut the door for both of us, youth and parents. But God does not want us to walk away from the two things we're talking about. We're talking about training and discipline. These two things go hand in hand. And I want us to learn more about who God is and how God can give us the things we need through training and discipline. I want to caution and say first, students, I understand again, not all of you may have a mom or a dad. You might have a bonus dad or a bonus mom or stepdad or stepmom, whatever you may call them today in your home. Maybe it's a grandparent that takes care of you. You have them that God has put over your life. And I want to say that yes, even us who has parents, we have been hurt by our parents, probably. But know this, that parents are not perfect, but we get the God, the Father of heaven and earth, who is a good Father to us, as y'all know that song probably, to be able to speak into our lives through His Word to instruct us on how we can be a good student, a good child to our parents and to the Father in heaven. The first point I want you to understand is we don't have to know everything. Students, parents, it's okay not to know everything. See, I was a kid growing up. I was the baby in the home. Even when my cousins came over, I was still the youngest. And you know what? I had to be the know-it-all. I think that's the reason why I say know it a lot still in my vocabulary today. And yet, I would say that for I know how to do that, I can do this. Yeah, I understand that, and I'd shake my head in confidence. But at the end of the day, I didn't know it all. And it's okay, even as students, to not know it all. And that's why God has given us authorities over us, parents in our home, coaches, mentors, pastors, to guide us in His direction He has for our lives. We know the verse, honor your father and mother, and the days will be long in the land. That is such a great verse, and it's a promise that if we obey and we honor these things, God will give us safety and direction and a good life. So we get that promise. The second thing I want us to know is instruction and training is a form of discipline. We have to know how to do things, and how we do that is going to be either through reading, maybe the instruction manual, which is God's Word, or getting the instructions that when our parents ask us to do something, listen for the detail that they may tell us. There may be something else they need us to do, because a lot of times we hear one sentence. We talked about yesterday being quick to listen before we speak and do. So we need to be able to make sure, is there any instruction maybe sometimes when our parents tell us something, to be able to follow and maybe find out how do they want it to be done. And it may be a better idea than we may even think or come up with. And a lot of times you're like, oh yeah, Mom, that's actually smart. You're not going to admit that, and parents are not going to admit that, but you all have great ideas of instruction for your kids. So we need to listen. And in God's Word, we talk about training and discipline, and we think about the word discipline. Discipline is not always the greatest word, because in our culture, it's kind of become like a harsh word sometimes. But discipline is a great thing that God has given us. And so I want to encourage us to think about this for a minute and think through this. And I'm going to leave a story at the end about how God had disciplined me through my mom, not by the actions she took, but by the words she said that I'll always remember. Hebrews chapter 12, verses 5 through 11 says this: "And you have forgotten that word of encouragement that addresses you as sons and daughters. My son, do not make light of the Lord's discipline, and do not lose heart when he rebukes you, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he punishes everyone he accepts as a son." If you go to verse 9, "How much more shall we submit to the Father of our spirit and live? Our earthly fathers disciplined us, and parents disciplined us for a little while as they thought best. But God the Father disciplines us for our good, that we may share in his holiness. No discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it." It didn't say discipline was easy, but it's used in a way to guide us into righteousness, to be trained up. And I want to leave with a story before we close. Back when I was in high school, it was my senior year, and yes, I had the freedoms to be able to drive, to go out, to have a later curfew, and some of you guys will get that one day. Some of you guys have that right now. And it was one weekend after football. It was probably a really bad weekend where we didn't win my senior year. Of course, we didn't win a single game my senior year, so it really sucked. However, whenever that football game ended, I was ready to get in my car and just go. I didn't want to be home. I didn't want to be around anybody. I don't remember if I went to a party or not that night, or with some friends, out what we did. I just remember I stayed out late. I did nothing, and I just did my life that day. Then the next night came, and I stayed out late again. All night. I remember getting to bed at 5 a.m. that morning, laying down. Whenever I laid down in the bed, I don't remember anything until my mom was shaking me and woke me up at my feet. And she was not happy. She gave me that mama dead look. And I just realized I missed everything on Sunday morning that I was supposed to do and to be where I was supposed to be at. Now, this is the time before cell phones, so my mom can IM me or possibly call me or get hold of me. And my mom went all the way through that morning, expecting me to be able to know that I woke up, I went to Sunday school, I went to church, and as I was sitting in the pew and she was sitting up in that choir, not seeing me, I knew she was probably mad. She was probably steaming, being like, "Where's my son at right now?" And guess what? I wasn't even there at church at all. She came home, shaking my feet, waking me up in the bed as we were getting ready to eat Sunday lunch. And she just looked at me. She could have grounded me. She could have chewed me out. She could have punished me in some way, somehow, some form. But her words were powerful. She said, "I'm just disappointed. And we miss you at church." Those words right there took me back. It made me realize that I lost my mama's trust. Because she knew I was always where I was supposed to be at and do. And I was not there where she expected me that day. I learned that I was going to have to regain her trust. But in that form of those words that kind of disciplined me a little bit, understanding that my discipline is having to regain my mama's trust, also wasn't just left with, "I'm just disappointed," but it was left with an encouragement of discipline. Knowing that, you know what? We miss you. Meaning we love you. And so with that, and it comes to discipline, we need to realize that God the Father does the same thing as that. He loves us, that he cares for us, that sometimes it may not be easy and the discipline can be harsh sometimes, but he does it out of love, because guess what? He does it because he's our Father and he wants that relationship with you and I. I pray that parents, you're hearing this, that you listen to Pastor Craig's message, before this or after this, and that you'll think about how you are when it comes to discipline. And as a child, as a youth, think about how you need to obey more. Maybe areas that you need to be able to correct and how you are obeying your mother and father. And knowing that, you know what? We're to be righteous. And so may you seek righteousness in your life on a daily basis. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.
Home improvement on a firm foundation. Home improvement when we're on staycation. Bible school.